Namaste. I am Gloria Grace Rand. In case you couldn't tell by the same voice that you just heard on the intro is my voice. And I always say delighted. Well, I am delighted. I'm delighted to be here with you again and to have a guest with us on the show. And she is someone that I actually just had the good fortune to spend some time with recently, and we'll talk about that maybe in a little while. But first off, I want to welcome Sheila Murrey to Live, Love, Engage.
Oh, thank you so much, Gloria. And I'm delighted to be here.
Well, good. I'm so glad. Yeah, I know. I've been listening to different. When I listen to the playback of the podcast, and I hear myself say that every week, and I hope you all don't mind me saying that, but I guess it's just because that is how I feel. I love talking to interesting people like our guest today, and so Sheila is an author, a blogger, a health researcher, a singer, and a speaker. And she passionately learns, experiments, and shares from master teachers all things holistic, which, as she says, is whole, WHOLE, holy, and relating to holism, with a focus on connecting soul with spirit, mind, and body. And she says, as we embody all wisdom paths, spirit and soul align, and our consciousness expands and omniscience breathes. Oh, I like that. Um, so I always love to start our podcast by asking our guests about their journey and why it is they do the things they do. So I'm curious to know from you, even though we've known each other for a little while and spent some time together. We were at a conference earlier this year that Bruce Lipton spoke at, and Greg Braden. And if you don't know who those folks are, Google them. They're amazing people. And but I'd still like to know, I didn't really get a chance to learn more about you. So I'd love to know, yeah, why do you focus on all things holistic?
That's such a loaded question, isn't it? Well, it's a deep dive. And you know how people talk about going down a rabbit hole? I think I'm circling the rabbit hole. That's what I'm doing. I'm right on the precipice. I haven't fallen in yet. So I'm still right at the edge and the fringe. But I love that. And I love the space and the opportunity and possibilities that it allows for. So, yes, speaking of Dr. Bruce Lipton, I'm in his community. I love him. I love learning from him. His wisdom just seems to know no bounds. And the reason I love it so much is because I've always felt a sense through my whole life that I was here for a greater purpose, a mission, if you will. And working with a Qigong master several years ago, he's now on the other side. He told me that I'm here to bridge heaven and earth. Well, I believe we all are. So I love using the word all. I love anything that's inclusive, which is kind of tricky these days. It's difficult to navigate because, things on the left may not always align with you and things on the right may not always align with you, but that's okay. Because what I've been shown is that, and this is through a process of meditation that I go through, what I've been shown, Gloria, is that we truly don't know how long we're going to be here. This is the present moment, the now, which is where our power lies. It's where we are our greatest. So in every interaction, in every conversation that we always have the powerful choice to make. Are we going to give? Are we receiving? Both good. It's all good. What is that energy like, though? And the question that I try to remember to ask myself is, am I coming from a place of ego, talking about those past accomplishments and credentials and all of that? Even my name, even my hair, whether I have makeup on, all of that stuff, all the superficial stuff, right? That's all coming from my ego. It's what I want to project out into the world. Or am I coming from my soul space, my spirit? Am I an open vessel for spirit to flow through? Because in any moment of tenseness, in upset, in stress, that's where the choice is. And in any communication I have with someone, in any interaction, even driving in the car alone and someone cuts me off, that's where my choice lies. So it's a practice, I've taken and thrown the word perfection out many years ago. It's all about practicing. Even medical doctors are practicing. So I bring in wholeness because all of that impacts, and which we learned from Dr. Bruce, right? The body. So how can I expect this body, maybe the only one, I guess it's the only one I'm going to get in this lifetime anyway. How can I expect it to heal or to even maintain some semblance of health? How can I expect it to do that when I'm constantly bombarding it with, thoughts of, well, I'm terrible. I'm not good enough. I didn't do that very good. I could do that better. Oh, I'm not perfect today. Oh, I didn't put this on perfect. Oh, the curl isn't turning this way correctly, right? I spent years blow drying and straightening and curling in rollers, this mess of a hair. Now I'm losing my hair. I even shaved my head. My son shaved my head for me during the pandemic. So,
wow.
it's really, that's why I blog. There's so much we can talk about in this deep dive of this, just circling the rabbit hole, much less what's in all the rabbit holes. So there's so much we can talk about that it's a fascinating dive, a fascinating subject, and one that I'm always open to with folks. And I love the feeling of that. So thank you for asking.
well, I love that, and gosh, there was so much there, and I'm trying to remember now all the things I wanted to touch on because, oh, I know when you talked about kind of, the different things about like things that are bombarding us, and do we want to deal with that, or we want to come from the ego, or do we want to come from our true self? And I'm actually reading Michael Singer's book Living Untethered right now. And and it goes again into talking about it's again with part of like the Buddhist philosophy of the attachment and and resistance and things like that, to be able to not have this attachment to things that bug us. Like you said, when you're talking about people cutting you off in traffic, and to be able to manage that. What do you do specifically? I think you did mention meditation. What do you do to help you to be able to navigate this crazy world on a day-to-day basis?
Well, again, another wonderful question, because you're right. The attachment is where we tend to find that's where we're going to suffer from. So if we're attached to something and then we don't get it, or it leaves us, or it passes away,
right,
we're broken. And I've been in that place where my dad passed away in his sleep at night, totally unexpected. The next day, I felt I was in a black hole. I was totally devastated because it was something that wasn't expected at all.
right.
And it happens to folks out there every day. We lose friends, family members, maybe to an illness like the virus or a car accident, and they're just gone. So again, it goes back to something I've heard you say about make this moment count, right? Because we don't know how long we have. So what we're attached to, we're physically attaching a subtle energy to, an energy that's unseen. And if we think in terms of the virus, look at how this COVID has made us all aware of something that, I know we were aware of the flu and cold and germs and things before, but it's really made us aware of even just walking outside and taking a breath of air that hundreds, thousands of people have breathed and exhaled, and this air is just in the neighborhood, in our local environment. And people have even been scared to walk outside. They've been outside with the masks and so forth. But why? Because we're attached to that feeling of everything has to be well in the world. And now there's this unseen thing floating around in the air, and we don't know much about it, so we're scared, we're fearful. And it's probably a very valid feeling, a human feeling for this body to experience, right? Because now I may breathe in something that, oh God, my body isn't prepared for. I must prepare my body for this. So at any rate, just to illustrate again, this idea that whatever we're attached to is where our energy is going. It's where our focus is going. It's where our time is going. Not to say that's always a good thing, right? We might be wasting that time. So that's where wisdom comes in, and deciphering and making these choices for ourselves. What am I going to do today to preserve my energy and help myself potentially grow and learn and be able to be the bridge, heaven to earth, inspire other people, build a business, go to work, raise children, all these things that we do as humans. But if we're wasting that, or we're not conserving enough of that for ourselves, then the body itself can fall ill. And it may just be to even things like lack, the scarcity mindset, depression. When my dad passed away, I was depressed for at least 2 months, maybe a little more. If I wasn't doing the work that I'm doing, which I'll get back to your question on meditation, if I wasn't doing that, I don't know where I would be now. So for me, this process and this practice has made a tangible impact on my health and my personhood, like who I feel I am as a person. So the practice itself, this meditation, you can choose any meditation that you like. You can do open-eyed meditation. You could do a focus on a flame, focus on a picture, focus on a loved one. You can close your eyes, but it's all about, every meditation is all about the breath work. So you take the deep breath, and when you breathe in through your nose, you're wanting to find space in your nose so that you get that physical, tangible feeling of the breath coming in. And some people, especially in spiritual circles, want to call this focusing on the spirit breath, focusing on the spirit, that you're literally breathing into your body. And where we get into the soul in all of this is that my belief is when you bring that breath in and that spirit, it's mixing in your blood, in your body. And that's why when you have a sensation or a feeling in your body, just from focusing on your breath, it's really communicating or dancing with your soul and with your body. So you're bringing spirit in, marrying it to your soul, or aligning it is another way to say it, dancing, harmonizing, and you're getting that into your body. So anything that you can do, any kind of movement, and I tell my husband this all the time, the lymph in the body doesn't have a pump. So when you're walking or even breathing and you're just moving your body, or you're doing light qigong, chair exercises, anything like that, what happens? You're breathing more. So it doesn't have to be the hyperventilating huff and puff. It's just aerating the body. It's kind of like cultivating or tilling the soil of your body, almost like a massage that you're giving your body inside. So a lot of words, but just to say that in-breath, so important. And then some meditation schools of thought are that you can hold the breath. Maybe you're counting your breaths, and then you can let it out. When you let it out, you have the choice. Do you just exhale through the nose or the mouth? And whichever one pleases you at that time. And it can be for different reasons. In my Reiki classes, we talked about, if you just breathe out the nose, that can be calming. Breathing out that exhalation breath through the mouth can be energizing. So you can play with that and see what works for you. But beautiful question. Just a daily practice of 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever you can do. It's like that old saying about exercise. What's the best exercise? The one that you'll do. What's the
Exactly.
best meditation? The one that you'll do. And there are days that I don't. And if I don't sit down and meditate, an alternative choice while you're hand washing dishes, while you're mopping a floor, vacuuming, any of those menial tasks, because those are all tasks that you're not working out on this part of your mind. Your amygdala has calmed down in the brain, and you're really just kind of rhythmically going about a certain task. Walking meditations are beautiful. I've done that. I've done stair climbing meditations. We don't have to put the label of meditation on it. We don't need to get, and this bumps into my holism now, the HOLISM, is that folks generally, typically, what they don't know about, they tend to want to cast it aside or even call it bad or wrong. I say, bump right up against it and check it out. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. But what is prayer? Prayer is communing with the Spirit of God or Jesus or whomever your deity or divine appointment is with. So you have a prayer. Prayer is typically doing exactly what we do in meditation, except you're probably not as focused on your breath. You're probably asking questions. So at the end of asking the questions, just be still. And don't do anything else. Just sit with it. As my first guru said, many times he would say, Sheila, just sit with it. You're meditating then. That's
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
The thoughts never end. That's a misnomer. People think you have to quiet the mind. Thoughts never end, but they will slow down, and you can actually focus. The longer you meditate, you'll begin to see this happen. You can focus on the space between the thoughts. And you can then let the thought go, and not now we get into integrated spiral, the spiral that we can get into. Oh my God, this person is sick. What am I going to do with them? How can I help them? What did they say? What did they do to themselves? You know what I mean? We just spiral. And that's when we can't get out of it.
Yeah. And I was just I'm like feeling like stressed just hearing you go on and on and on, because that's what happens, isn't it? It's like we do that and then we just stress ourselves out by that. So, yeah.
The monkey mind, the mind chatter, the stuff that we lay in bed at night with awake because we've got, I've got to do this. This is on my calendar. I've got 4 appointments tomorrow. How am I going to get it all done? I don't think I know enough. I'm so bad. I'm so unworthy. I'm so, it just goes down, down, down. And that's, again, we just want to release that. So the prayer is fine if you don't have a deity, because I've worked with folks who are atheists. That's fine too, because again, it's all about just calming that monkey mind and mind chatter down, focusing on the breath. And nobody can deny that they have breath. So you may deny that there's any kind of creator or deity out there, or in there, but you can't deny that you need to breathe to live, because it's the one thing that we can do without the least amount of time, right? You can do without food 30 days, water 7 days, but breath only a few minutes. So that's the ballpark we're in there.
Yeah. And even, and again, even if you are an atheist, I would say that they still must be able to acknowledge that there's something inside of them that is looking outside. There is still this consciousness that they have, and when you can be still and just you can allow for ideas to come forth. And so whether if you are a spiritual person or a religious person, you may say it's coming from God, and if you're not, then just acknowledge that, wow, there's something has come through me. There's something maybe that I forgot, or maybe, whatever, but just allow it to come through, because it will. And that's the beauty of being still, is to be able to do that. And I'm glad that you pointed out that, thoughts are going to come and go. That always happens. And you can get to a point where you can start having those breaks, I might say, or the space, as you were saying, the space between those thoughts can get longer. And even if they don't, that's still okay, because the fact that you're sitting and just allowing it is so important. There's so much I want to ask you, so I'm trying to figure out where do I want to go next. Well, I'm going to go here because I know one of the things that you're working on right now, and I know by the time this airs, it will have already come out. Is that I know that we were talking about, well, actually, let me go there first, is that I mentioned at the beginning that we got to spend some time together because you attended a retreat that I hosted not too long ago, and which was wonderful. So we got to spend time together. But I know you had talked about during the retreat that you had just sent your book out to the editor. And so I wanted to know if you'd be interested in sharing with our audience what your book is about and
Sure.
why you wrote it.
Sure. Well, so this will be technically my fourth book. Haha, the ego laughs, right? But this one is probably the most important. I feel it's the most important words that I've ever written. And not to say that most of them are mine. Most of them come from the ethereal. Ooh, what does she mean by that? Well, I'm calling it a metaphysical novel, but my editor's telling me it's not a novel. So I think we're going with messages. And so you folks that are hearing this, seeing this months from today will know already what we decided on for a subtitle. But let's just say, when you lay down to sleep at night and you have a dream, or if you've have someone on the other side. I started to say lost. I'm still shifting my languaging. But if you've grieved for someone on the other side, that they're gone from your physical experience now, in today's now. So they're on the other side, and you in a dream may see them or may hear from them. You may get prompts from them in some way. Well, how do you explain that? And I'm also a member of IONS that's for the Institute of Noetic Science, because science is delving into that and trying to quantify how we interact with something, I'll just say, that's in the ethereal, something that's not in our physical presence, and that can be in the form of telepathy or a distance healing, remote viewing, leaving your body at night. Even you mentioned earlier, Gloria, like even an atheist might have to agree, or we would think would agree, that there's the watcher in us or the observer within us. So who is having the thought, right? And so who is the voice coming from in the dream? Is that ours, maybe in our subconscious, maybe buried within the cells of our body's consciousness, because we're also learning that the cells within our body are conscious. So, I mean, it just gets, I know it sprawls out there, but the book is about capturing the times that I was given these visions, the dreams, the visitations, the difference between them, and who's telling me what, coming from at least the personage that was in my visual field during the dream. Now, again, this is at night, this is while I'm sleeping, or when I've been in a hypnotherapy session, which my hypnotherapist has drummed it into me to tell you that it's not called being under hypnosis, but it is in a deeply relaxed state. So when we are meditating, that's when some messages can come through. Inspiration. My husband is a guitarist, bassist. So while he's playing music, where does he get the idea, the thought to hit the next different note, you know? And I say to him, the word inspired has spirit in it, and it also has spiral in it. So there's a spire, there's spiral, and there's inspiration, but it's all this again, going back to the breath, the root word of that, or the root of that word. So when we have a situation like the book, which is named, the short name of the book is Blue Eyes, the subtitle yet to be determined, but it's about these messages that come from the ethereal, and they marry into our consciousness in a way that we can experience in many times a very profound conversation and a very profound meeting. So I talk about, again, in the book, to differentiate between dreams that someone had that were told to me versus something that I've experienced. How long, because typically when you wake up in the morning, how long does the dream stay with you? If it's just a dream, it typically will dissipate like that. It's just so fleeting. It's like the butterfly, and that's why I love butterflies. They're so fleeting and elusive, but we love them because they're gentle and they're beautiful, and they show us what transformation is like and things like that in the world. So when you have this dream or this visitation, if you wake up and you can't let go of it, if it hangs on, I feel the longer it hangs on, and in particular, if it helps you make an about face, a dramatic shift or change in your day-to-day life, it was probably a visitation. The one that I've experienced with my mother after she passed was so profound, and so it's just like a dream. It feels really, really real. But it left me with a profound change in my behavior the next day. My husband has experienced the same kind of thing, though I didn't focus on his in the book, but I can mention it here, that he had a visitation from his mother who had passed years before, but he went to sleep one night, saw her. She had came to our front door, knocked on the door. He opened it. She said something to him, one sentence. It ended. The next day, he said, I'm taking action on what that sentence was that she spoke to me. So, I mean, so it results in a tangible action. I guess that's where I'm getting with all of this. And I find that whole situation, the dichotomy between our consciousness when we're awake and our consciousness while we're sleeping, and the body's in its rest and repair and rejuvenation mode, the same as the deeply relaxed state of hypnosis. When we're in those kinds of states and the brain is changing its waves to the delta wave pattern in this, so we're having a communion somewhere with someone or people, something's going on that's just not quite what we might be able to put our finger on. And I just wanted to highlight that and give folks a lot of examples, and then also go into some reasons why I think that happens. And to give folks hope. I think ultimately I wanted to be able to release some of the loneliness that's out there, because I know when my mother passed, my dad for almost 2 years lived in an utter state of loneliness and depression. And I want folks to know, especially those, again, bumping up to the religious viewpoints here, but those folks who draw the line sincerely, and nothing against, because I was there once. When you draw the line here and you say, I'm not going to go past that, well, think for a moment, who do you think God is? I mean, I call God omniscience because to me, God lives in everything and is everywhere. The unified field, or the air that I'm breathing, just the foundation of life itself. I don't look at God as a person, a man, a white man, a long white beard, and all of that. I dropped those kinds of notions many years ago, but only after I had a personal experiential situation happened where I felt that presence rise within me and come out of my mouth. And that's in the book as well. But yes, when you have this experience, then God becomes alive to you, and you can put any kind of name because I don't care. It's like the old thing, right? I don't care if you call me Shelly or Sheila or Shara or Cher or whatever. Just don't call me late for dinner.
Right.
So I don't care. I'm not wrapped up in this. I'm
Right.
wrapped in this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always, and I remember even as a kid, I was never, I grew up in the Catholic Church, and some of their stuff just never resonated with me. But just to go outside and look at nature, and even then, if you look up at the stars at night, and then you see some of these amazing pictures that like we've been getting from some of the telescopes and things that are out there, and just have to think that like, okay, somehow all of this started, and so it's certainly bigger than what we humans could do.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I'm also coming to think that, well, there is part of us that's really not necessarily human is this shell that we're wearing, that there's something inside of us that I believe is connected then with God, spirit, creator, universe, whatever people want to say that created all of this. So we have that potential as well. But that's for another show. We'll maybe get into some of this another time. But I'm so fascinated. I don't know about you, but I love reading different people's perspectives, and
Yes.
love reading different books about things. I've been reading a lot of Neil Donald Walsh lately, and now I'm reading Michael Singer. I'm even reading. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this Vietnamese monk's name who just actually passed earlier this year, who's written lots of
Thich
books,
Nhat
and he's
Hanh.
been, yeah, thank you.
Yes. Welcome.
And I'm reading his Living Buddha, Living Christ, I think, book right now. I just started, and I'm like already going, ooh, this is going to be good. So
Mm,
if you're at all interested in spirituality, I encourage you to read books,
yes.
or watch things on YouTube
Mhm.
and videos, and learn from a variety of people, because it's so interesting to be able to get different people's perspectives and then also see all the similarities that start to come through.
Exactly. Thank you so much for that beautiful segue, because when we do this and we put our hands together,
Mm.
that was also a drop in. That was something I was given in 2005 when I thought I was going to die. I was so sick with the flu.
Mm.
And I had told my husband, it just blurted out of my mouth that I don't care who you call the acupuncture doctor, call the nurse, call the MD, call the shaman, call the witch doctor. I don't care. I mean, I was almost delirious at that point, honestly. I had fever and I couldn't move out of the bed. So what was dropped in to my mind, okay, was this whole idea of put your hands together when you pray. In fact, those were the exact words I was given. Put your
Mm.
hands together when you pray. And I sort of laughed as little as I could laugh in that state of just pure illness. I laughed a little to myself and I thought, but that's what we were taught when we were kids. I'm
Right.
getting this thought now because I was, taught as a child to get on my knees beside my bed, put my hands in prayer position and say a nightly prayer.
Right.
But then I realized after I got well, oddly enough, I got better after that, as well as some holistic treatments that our acupuncture doctor brought over. But I learned through that experience that, oh my God, there is energy that flows in one side of your body. I will say the left, someone may disagree, and out the right. So that's why we don't wear any battery operated, say, a wristwatch on the left. We're always bringing in the energy in the left and releasing it out the right. It's flowing through the body. So when you put your hands together, physically, scientifically, what you're doing is you're connecting the circuits. You're connecting the
Mm.
circuitry of your body. And what else comes to mind is that almost every faith, because I used to say every faith, apparently not every faith, but I've studied enough world religions to tell you that most faiths throughout the world put their hands together. And the one we usually think of now is the Asian, the Namaste, right?
Mm-hmm.
when we do the bow and we put our hands together, but is done all throughout Asia, not necessarily for religious purposes. But again, I say, why would something like that, why would some action like that be known the world over if there wasn't more to it than that? I'm sorry, I do air quotes a lot. So the other thing is, when you think about how yogis sit, the legs are crossed as well.
Right.
And the energy medicine work that I've learned from Donna Eden, I mean, this whole energy circuitry throughout the body is all based on the meridian system of the body. So the chakras and all of this works together. And to just simplify it, you have energy that runs up and down and around and all through the body. And the blood in your blood vessels actually spiral the blood as it flows through the veins. So, I mean, I don't know either, Gloria, how someone could be a scientist or a doctor and look at how the human body works and functions, let alone all the stuff they still don't know about the human body. They don't even know all of the mechanisms for how the eyeball works. And why would the eye be created to throw the image in reverse and be, processed by the brain? I mean, just all this sort of thing. Why does certain hair on the body grow and grow forever, and other hair seems to have a limit as how long it'll grow? I mean, just simple things. Fingernails, toenails will keep growing after the body ceases to supposedly live any longer. There's so much mystery just to examining the human body that, to me, there has to be an infinite intelligence behind all of it. And again, that's why I go back to the word omniscience. And sweetly enough, it's the long version of the short word.
That's right.
I love oming and tuning as a singer. I love that. And I love something you do called light language. Such a fascinating example of this mystery.
It is. And I'm so grateful to be alive right now, because it is such a fascinating time, and just learning, also just seeing how science and religion are coming together.
Yes.
And just, and that was part of what I'm just starting to read this book by Michael Singer today. And just, he was exploring how life started and how we really are all from the stars, and just, but he's really went into the scientific detail about how atoms are made and how the hydrogen came about, and it's fascinating stuff. And to know that if we think about it, and that our bodies are just made up of like six elements, and those elements are found throughout the universe. So it's it's a wondrous thing, and we are wondrous things, and
yes,
we just need to stop being so petty and start focusing in on the wonder in of us all, and I think we'd be a lot happier. So I love what you're doing in the world, and I love. I know we're kind of getting a little long, but I know one of the things you were talking about a little bit, and I know this is part of the thing you have in your blog, so we're going to kind of start to go in there, because you've mentioned about you've mentioned the word spiral a few times. So what is it about spirals that really light you up?
Oh, well, and I have the pendant on too from Ireland. So when in 2019, my husband and I both took a sacred Celtic journey with my hypnotherapist, and she led a group of us to England, Ireland, Scotland. And one of the places we went to we had beautiful experiences, many places, but one of them, a few of them stand out. One of them in particular had spirals, just like this, in fact, engraved on the wall of we'll call it a tomb or burial mound. It's called different things, but a Neolithic chamber. It's one of the oldest, in fact, in Ireland, is known to be older than Stonehenge in England. So Stonehenge are the large stones, rocks, if you will, that are standing stones. Most people are familiar with, but Newgrange is a tomb that not as many people are familiar with, though it's gaining more popularity, and that's just outside of Dublin, Ireland. And what happened was, as a friend of ours likes to say, what happened was we walked into this chamber, and when I touched the stones there, because Stonehenge, you're not allowed to touch the stones anymore, but when I physically laid my hands on the stones in the Newgrange chamber, I physically felt a sensation go through my body, which I can describe as energy, but if folks aren't familiar, it was not as much as licking your finger and sticking your finger on an electrical outlet. It wasn't that kind of charge, but there was definitely a charge to it. So there was what most will call a subtle energy that I was feeling from those stones. The longer I was in there, the more grounded and peaceful I became. And quite literally, when I walked out, my heart was just so full, and I was so filled with this feeling of humility, but thankfulness at the same time, that I whispered to one of the stones, "Thank you." And later I read that one of the best prayers we could ever say is thank you. And I thought, if I died right then and God was standing in front of me, what would I say if I could even in the presence of omniscience utter any words? It would be thank you, because this has been such an amazing life, the ups, the downs, the ebbs and flow of it all. And what then happened was, when we went to the visitor center, they had a little form that you could fill out to enter into a lottery where they draw every year for a group of, it's just a few folks, and that's in my blog too. If you go to sheilamurrey.net and do a search on England, Ireland, and Scotland, you'll see there's 3 very long blog posts with lots of pictures in there to show you all of this. But what happened was, I filled out the form, and at the time I filled it out, my husband jokingly said, "I don't know what you think you're doing, because if you win this thing, we're not coming back, because that you would be coming back in December." We were there in July. We would be coming back in December for the winter solstice. Well, at that moment, I wasn't a druid. I didn't consider myself, a lot of different things that I think I am now. But anyway, I ended up winning it. And the gentleman who loaned me the pen to fill out the form, he and his wife went back with us from the States. When we went into the chamber, I'm cutting it short, when we went into the chamber in December for winter solstice, we realized, we were told by the staff there, we were the only visitors from America. So the four of us were representing America at that point, and it just really felt so wonderful. But also because we were a worldwide international group of 20 people inside that tomb, and we got to experience such a rare event. That's why they do the lottery, because on the winter solstice they only allow so many people in for 5 or 6 days during the solstice time. So it was really very uniquely impressive, I'll say. Yes.
I love that.
Yes. And then after that's when I bought the spiral. The wife of the gentleman who loaned me the pen actually picked it out. It was the last one the jewelry store had. I went in the jewelry store for something totally different for my granddaughters, and walked out with something that has now become part of something that I never take off. The gold chain was what my mother wore every day. And when she passed, my dad handed it to me. And that was one of the few things that I had from her. And then the pendant went on the chain, and those will stay on me until my last breath.
I love that.
if I have anything to say about it.
Very good. Oh, awesome. This has been wonderful. And I have enjoyed having you on the show and having you share all of your wonderful wisdom and stories with our audience. And I know they got a lot of good value out of it, I'm sure. And I'm thankful that you did mention, so your website, is that the best place people can connect with
Yes,
you?
SheilaMurrey.net, and it's SheilaMurrey.net. The EY is important because most folks are aware of Murray with an AY.
It's true.
And I'll leave you with, there's a couple things. I'll leave you with another statement that dropped in for me way back 2004, and that was, we are all connected. Now it seems ubiquitous. It's all over the place, and the Native Americans, of course, have said for eons that we are all related. So I have very good and loving Native American friends, so I really just hold them so close to my heart. And the other is, it will all be okay, because that was a message that I was given from I used to say was my unborn sister, but my sister who was born but died within a day of birth and was buried. And I have met her in the Ethereal, again, thanks to my hypnotherapist, and having that, allowing myself that time to gently connect with her on the other side, which is why it's called Blue Eyes, because she had blue eyes and told me another special message, but I will leave that for the readers of the book. We always have to have the carrot dangle. Right?
That's right. Absolutely. Yep. So you got to get the book, and I will have the link to the book in the show notes, because it will be out by then, and so you'll be able to get it on Amazon. I know it will be available there, and look forward to seeing what the subtitle will be at that point. And yeah, so thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Gloria, and big hugs. And remember to hug yourself every day, because if you're alone, there's nothing more important than human touch. And if you have 2 arms and 2 hands, you can flip them over one on top of the other and make sure you go all the way around. Much love to you all.
Absolutely. And I share that sentiment. Thank you all. Much love to all of you who were watching today on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform. And I hope that you enjoyed this enough that you'll leave us a review or share it with a friend. And until next time, as always, I encourage you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.